And this familiar face coming in at number 7 is Dr. Michael Swango. Dr. Michael Swango, a former medical doctor, former U.S. Marine recruit, and a prolific serial killer with more than 60 deaths attributed to him. As with almost all the other doctors on this list, Dr. Swango's career as a serial killer goes hand in hand with his clinical practice. Nurses working with Swango began noticing that apparently healthy patients were dying mysteriously with alarming frequency. Each time Swango had been the floor intern, one nurse caught him injecting some medicine into a patient who later became strangely ill. His co-workers also began noticing that whenever Swango prepared the coffee or brought in any food, several of them became violently ill with no apparent cause. Swango was investigated for poisoning his patients and colleagues, found guilty, and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Did that stop him, you ask? Well, that wasn't the end of Dr. Swango. After his release, he changed his name by forging IDs and was welcomed back into medical life as Dr. Daniel J. Adams. And as you might expect, his patients and colleagues started dying. After being investigated for a second time, he fled to Zimbabwe to avoid criminal charges. Here he began working as, you guessed it, a doctor. Dr. Swango was finally foiled in 2000 when he pled guilty for murder and fraud charges. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms. During the trial, prosecutors read lurid passages from Swango's notebook describing the joy he felt during his crimes.